Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with what looks to be a very exciting episode of WarPlan. And yes, we're playing as Germany. Now, before I go any further, well, first off, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and of course, you can like that video. But the real thing I wanted to comment on was, yes, there will be more Hearts of Iron 3 Black Ice coming soon. Oh, it was probably 6 weeks ago or more. I posted, "Hey, please, just Revolver Hell, get the version of TRE and GGA released," and because he didn't want to redo it all over again when they released the new version of Black Ice. Because then I said it looks like it's going to be weeks or months before they go, and then they said week, and that was like 6 weeks ago, and got a notification recently that that they posted that there are still more delays, including like real life delays with these people. So I'm waiting. Sorry, yes, I could pick up another sorry for the interruption there. I could pick up another series based on the older engine, but I don't want to get either partially through that and then stop or whatnot. Play a minor country, play Romania, or play Spain or something. I don't know. No, we're gonna wait for that. So once the new version of Black Ice is available, then we'll have the new version of the sub mods available. Then I think I'm going to tweak a few things in it. And then we're looking at a new series and may have a surprise to announce. Not sure. We'll see once I get all that done. So that's weeks away, I'm sure. But in the meantime, because I was noticing we were doing a lot of Slithering content, or Matrix Slithering, which isn't bad, but it's just doing a lot of that. Okay. 3-1. That looks like we can defeat that. And so, no, we're not paying attention to other comments here. So, pound that. Okay, that's been pounded. Just because I don't know what that is there. So we got 4-1. They hold. Now at 5-1, they should go up. They didn't. Yes, we know they are British. Why not? Might as well just... Oh, they retreat out to there. Okay, well... obviously we can't do anything more with that unit. This guy's gonna come back to... pop out. Well, we'll come down to here, make sure that we have supply, fuel, whatnot. Let's look at our outraged partisans. Okay, they're cutting that rail link right now. Yes, units out of supply that ship. This sub, which is coming, we'll move them into there. You're low on supply, so let's come down to here and up to here. And you, I believe, yeah, you're also low on supply. Let's come to here and go to Brest. There we go. Our submarines are all in for this turn. That's fine. Big thing with this, with attritional warfare like this, and this goes, again, I have to say, I just get a kick out that Alvaro and I go back to the same. Alvaro is the primary dev for this game. Go back to the old Avalon Hills game, Third Reich. So, and that was the way that was set up, and for both sides, it's sort of resource attritional warfare for submarines. You just gotta be costing, for the submarines to be useful, gotta be costing more expense than they are to build and have them there. So I don't know whether in real life or in game life you can ever win the war with subs, but like by driving Britain somehow into be defeated, being choked off from supply. But just simply by costing them more, then hopefully your spending. So if I don't have to keep rebuilding these guys, I'm just using the fuel needed to send them out to sea, costing more than cost to have them, they're doing their job and doing well. Okay, now here, okay. I think this is a useful thing. So, well, this 3, 4, let's move. Ooh, 3 to 1, okay. Airstrike. We'll move him in just because he's stronger and we'll be able to. Ooh, oh. Deal with counter. Yeah, deal with counterattacks. That's important. Okay, well, maybe it wasn't such a big threat. There still should be one good, well-supplied mech unit up there. So what we're going to do is let's use that for a light airstrike. I can hit all of them, so we'll do airstrike. Right. Okay, we're going to use him as a... Okay, well, it just... Okay, not available to do that. Okay, we'll hit the one shatter. Okay, good. I'd prefer to shatter than that. May still be the good mech unit. They may get that off and out. I'll move you here just a little better. Oh. Okay, so there we go. We're threatening Jerusalem. We have good supply down here. Right, okay, rain down here. Unselect all and select the 2 Italian subunits. We're going to stick you right on me. Oh, blockade. Now I also want to address one other comment that was made, and it's a very valid comment. It's not I'm not taking it in any sort of bad way or whatever, but it was about historical accuracy in this game, and I've made comments, and I know there's been changes, some we would call improvements, and this isn't about the original comment, but there's historically inaccurate things in this thing, and I brought some up with Alvaro, and some I haven't. But Persia, why the hell is it called Persia? It's called Iran during this time period. Iran, I-R-A-N, spelled in, at least in the Latin alphabet. I don't know of any other Latin alphabet ways to spell it, but Iran. And to translate it that into either German at the time or English at the time, that would be Aryan. That is the Persian word for Aryan. They specifically changed the name to Iran in an attempt to please Hitler and the Nazis, to show that we are fellow Aryans. So that is a racial reason for changing their name, and because of an ideological shift. So we can look at his, historical inaccuracies. Now, it was brought up over Germany's and my invasion of Greece. Well, it was you said and they said the developers or somebody, that this was a historically accurate game. Well, if you can invade Greece like that, I don't want to spend my money on it because it's not historically accurate. Now, I'm not selling this game, so I think, great. If you found out from my videos that this is not the game for you and you're not going to buy it, great. I've done my job, because I look at not as some sort of independent games journalist or something, but as a games presenter. I'm trying to present these games in a fair and honest way, so that it's you accurately understand what's in the game. So if you determine, for whatever reason, you don't like the look of the game, you don't like the counters, or whatever, you just you don't like the look of this game, you don't like a game mechanic, you don't like something in the game, even though it is being worked on, or the AI isn't good enough, or whatever, yeah, don't buy it. Please don't buy it. I'm not trying to convince you to buy this thing. I don't make any money out of you buying this thing. That isn't my job. I think I've showed off Panzer Corps. I mean, not that I'm a brilliant player or something like that, but I've showed off what Panzer Corps II is to viewers as well. And those that want a Gary Grigsby's War in the East, or a more tactical combat, like close combat game, yeah, no, it isn't that. It isn't trying to be that. So if you want a more realistic game, don't get Panzer Corps II. But if you want something that is continuing, in my opinion, with the same heart of the old Panzer General, or Panzer Corps, 1 now, or whatever you want to call it, the Panzer Corps original, legacy, just sort of improved, not just improved graphics, but improved gameplay and a lot of that, but still with the same basic core of heart. Well, I think it's a great game. It's continuing that legacy, but it is not a Gary Grigsby's War in the East, War in the West, or whatever. It is not an historically accurate game. Panzer Corps II is not that. So you got to sort of understand what the game is supposed to be, and is it doing that well? And I think Panzer Corps is doing great at that, but it may not be a game for you, and I'm not displeased if it's not the game for you. Okay, back to Greece. Well, if you can do that, this game isn't historically accurate, I don't want to buy it. Okay, well, I'll tell you this. From a grand strategy, and this is grand strategy Europe, we're sort of not playing the Pacific, but from a grand strategy Europe perspective, I don't want to play a game that is forcing me to make historical mistakes. I don't want simply a simulation, a walkthrough of World War II that always has the same conclusions of World War II. Because in my opinion, if you make the same basic decisions of World War II, and maybe just get a slightly better die roll, if you know what I mean, you're going to have the same ends. Germany's going to lose. It just may lose a few turns earlier or a few turns later. It's going to lose. That does not hold an interest to me. Okay. Now, and so, sort of come back with this, and it's public comments, but I'm not going to out viewers, and I don't mean to attack the viewer at all, because again, if this truly isn't the game for him, he should not buy it. But I pointed out, I invaded Greece 3 days earlier than historically did. Now, instead of an impulsive invasion by Mussolini, who started out the invasion with some of the divisions that were stationed in Albania, with partial of the troops were still off somewhere, and I don't know whether they were in Albania or in mainland Italy doing grain harvest duty, because that's literally what they were doing. To help with the grain harvest in October, a fair portion of, and this goes back to the Roman army, fair portion of the troops were out being used, and not just the troops from the unit stationed in Albania, but just generally units stationed, because yes, there was a war in North Africa, but troops stationed in Italy were being used to bring in the harvest. And I guess that was sort of standard. Not just like a wartime special member. It was, hey, yeah, farmers need some extra labor. Let's send in the troops to help give them that labor. And so the units that initially attacked the Greeks weren't even fully manned from what they were, actually had on unit strength, because the men were elsewhere. Let alone were they fully stocked up on ammo, had all their table of organization level of equipment, because we know a lot of main frontline Italian divisions, we're not just talking some, home guard or reserve units or something like that. We're still using literally the same guns, artillery pieces, guns, not rifles. Well, maybe rifles too, but main artillery pieces from World War I. Not the same models, the same guns for, frontline divisions. This is how poor the equipment state was in the Italian army. They did not have enough equipment for even, we're not talking their reserve or their training units, their stuff that wasn't supposed to leave Italy. We're talking their sort of frontline troops weren't fully equipped. We know that. And so instead of just having those units that Mussolini, Hitler didn't tell us about, whatever, just went off and did it. Well, we're going to do the same to him, was basically Mussolini's Greece, and did not inform the Nazis of the Greek invasion prior to launching the Greek invasion. And Hitler and crew sort of get the notification that Italy's invaded, or Mussolini, whatever they said, has invaded Greece. What? Okay. Instead of making that mistake in World War II, I simply, at basically the historical date, now I would have done it a turn earlier if things were ready. I would have done it a turn later if things were ready. I was doing it post the fall of France, absolutely. But beyond that, I wasn't specifically trying to do it at a historical date. I was doing it there, and instead of just having Italy do it, I was going to have Germany move in and support it. What if we did the Greek invasion right? Not what if we continued to do it wrong. Now, part of my motivation is instead of my other motivation, when I often play Hearts of Iron, is to, since we sort of, looking back in history, know that Yugoslavia will, even if it joins the Axis, swap sides. So instead of getting it in the Axis and then having it, turn traitor, change sides, stab you in the back, whatever you want to say, instead of doing that, we're going to preemptively invade Yugoslavia and then Greece and just roll down through them as Germany with Italian support. That's my normal sort of modus operandi. But when I found out that likely if we kill off Greece, Yugoslavia will join the Axis and not switch sides. And so again, you have to look at if historical, and this again going back to historical accuracy, if historical conditions prevail, then I want historical decisions to happen. And by that, I mean is, if Italy is bogged down in a war in Greece, that Greece has been able to hold off the Italian army and actually maybe push it back a little bit. I don't know if would be considered a full hex in any one of these, and these hexes here, but push it back a little bit into Albanian territory. Then Yugoslavia, which significant elements of it, particularly a lot populist Serb elements, I would say, of my understanding, not so much popular Croat elements, but populist Serb elements were not in favor of the German alliance for whatever reason, whether it's ideological or, hey, we don't want to get, in somebody else's war. It has nothing to do with us. I don't know that when the Yugoslavs left the Axis with the coup and changing things over, that the people that were doing it were really planning on joining the Allies. I think it's more of a, again, I'm not an expert on, the fall of the change in Yugoslav government. I've seen some documentaries, but it's been some time. I don't know whether they, were looking to actively join the British alliance. I think it was more like, no, we're out of the war. We're neutral. We're done. And that pisses off Hitler, so Hitler invades, basically. Worrying partially about or Romania or Bulgaria doing the same thing, I think, as well, particularly Romania. Because Romania, again, this is also a history talk here, had a long, long history of trying to get France and secondarily Britain to be allies and protect Romania. Initially more against the Soviet advances, later against German, but since they both said no, and then of course later France falls, Hitler's plan, that becomes less of an option. But if they're worried about it, Hitler's worried about if you're invading the Soviet Union, oil supplies in Romania, does Romania decide to go, yeah, no thank you, we're not at war with the Soviets, we're just looking for a defensive capacity, and well, we're going to cut off your oil supply. So he wants to lower the hammer on Yugoslavia and take care of the threat of a British front down here developing on the continent of Europe. Okay, well, so if those historical conditions remain, then I expect Yugoslavia to do what it did. But if historical conditions change, meaning relative peace, not to say there isn't some partisan activity, but relative peace in Greece, I would agree that Yugoslavia would likely not leave the Axis. It might not actively send troops to the Eastern Front, like Bulgaria did not, if I remember correctly, did not declare war on the Soviet Union, and definitely, I know, did not send any expeditionary forces to any Russian front. They did join the war against Greece and Britain, and hence the U.S., and definitely, like, Bulgarian air units engaged Allied bombing formations as they primarily moved up to Ploetsi, flying over Bulgarian territory. Definitely did occupation in Yugoslavia Greek duties and that. So they were in the war, definitely. Thank you, motorcycle. Definitely in the war. But we're not in the war against the Soviets until the Soviets came knocking on their door. I could easily see Yugoslavia having a similar sort of pattern of activities to go, nope, we're not going there. We'll allow Yugoslav citizens that are refugees from the Russian Civil War, because tens of thousands of Russian soldiers, about half of the Russian White Army that makes it out, settles in Yugoslavia. The other half settles in France, basically. And so there's large pockets, like whole towns that are Russian villages, that do end up forming white Russian units, though Germany never lets them go to the Eastern Front. They keep them fighting in Yugoslavia for other reasons, and we won't go there at the moment. But so yeah, might allow expeditionary divisions that are volunteer type formations head off, like Spain sort of does, head off to go fight in the great anti-Bolshevik crusade, but otherwise stay out of the Bolshevik war. I could see that as happening if conditions apply. So as to historical, and then the poster, well, if Yugoslavia still gets invaded and turns into Croatia and whatever, yeah. So I don't want to be forced to make all of the bad historical decisions. I also want to see the ability to change, like we are trying to get Vichy, Syria to be, a bit more in the axis to allow trains to move over here for supply, though I'm beginning to wonder whether that will be, Oh, what's our supply looking like? I don't know that we need to even get Vichy Syria in now, because we'll continue playing the game here. I did check earlier. Persia, we can set up a we have a trade convoy going to Italy supplying fuel, trade convoy to Hungary and Romania to overland to supply resources. We have trade convoy to Iraq to supply resources for them to build up their army. So we're going to create another one. We're really digging into Germany's resources. Don't know how long we're going to keep this up, but let's create this. I hope, must remove old before creating a new one. What are our, here. Merchant Marine in use. Okay, what I think what's happening here, the reason we can't do that is we just don't have enough Merchant Marine vessels. Okay, so we have 10 more merchant or 20 more Merchant Marine vessels coming. We're going to, this is why I don't think we can do this right now. We're going to build more Merchant Marine vessels. Another 10 right now. Not enough shipyards. Damn. Okay. Oh, because we do have all these landing ships. Now I'm seeing overbuilt. And then Merchant Marine. So, well, we'll get this up and going there right now at 5. I've yet to see a British presence here because I think they moved that out. And hopefully we can keep pressing here. So I'm thinking, because I think have sea connections to these ports, I'm both happy and both pleased and worried. I do not want to go to war with the Soviet Union and have the Soviets bash into Iran and take Iran out. So we need to have German forces and or Italian forces there. Well, let's queue up, move you to here. Let's get you and move you to here. We have coming in March and March is too early, I think, for any Soviet invasion effectively. A mech and an armor corps. In April we have another armor corps. I don't know that we should wait till June to go into the Soviets. April probably looking more at a May invasion. So I wanted these 3, the armor and 2 mech, or 2 armor and a mech, to plunge north up into here. I think this would just be mostly starvation, so we want to send in sort of a minimum force here, maybe. I don't know. But I'd like to see that. And again, this is sort of what ifs on history. What if the Germans had been able to launch a southern invasion? Okay, well, Okay, we'll move this air down to here for now. To be able to support that. We're going to move there. Like I say, we're not going in right away to the Soviets. It's going to be a little while. Let's move you guys to there to be able to try to pound the submarines from operating. You, what's going to be the fastest way? Well, do I want another core HQ down here? Oh boy, I don't know right offhand. We've got 2 infantry corps, an armored and a mech Italian infantry corps. That's, if they're close enough in one location, that's enough for this corps to handle. Or HQ, Army HQ. How is our production resource stockpile not well enough doing for them? Well, I think we're going to get these 3 corps. That corps, that'll be 4 corps. I think we need to keep those here in the Mediterranean to deal with possible Allied landing action in North Africa, in, you know, wherever, you know, Sicily, Sardinia, somewhere, Greece. And just don't know about this and him. I think we want to move here just because we have mountain ranges and the mountain troops may be a bit more useful there. That's why they're in the port right now. Well, you know, let's put them on board ship. Let's see if we can rush to here. And disembark. There we go. Might as well see about getting them here. Thinking maybe about 1 more German infantry corps coming down here. Yeah, okay, those guys are just reinforcing up. Now let's see now. We only have 50% organization level, or let's see about using some of these guys down in Greece. Just from a counter-invasion, anti-partisan. We'll move you to a port for sending elsewhere. Here, give me some ideas what I should use him for. We don't need just another infantry corps that's to stick somewhere. We want to think about airborne invasion, so we have the possibilities of something here maybe. We've already got Cyprus, so don't know what we need there. Maybe something In the Mediterranean down here, Malta, I think we can land here maybe. Land in here to take Malta as an invasion. I'm not sure, that's maybe where we should do that. Or do we want to, you know, use it to cut off forces? I think we have another one. Yeah, not until July. We have another German airborne corps coming. Well, let's they're still marching through the snow. Okay, well this is looking promising now that we've taken out their port, and they're just all going to die, and we'll get this secured. And hopefully that will then, once we get it secured, get a lot of supply coming back in that's been choked up. I don't think we're going to be needing you down Mediterranean. So let's see, we'll have, let's get a Yugoslav Expeditionary Corps up and going here. Okay, well I think we're going to end the episode here. Give me an idea about the paratroopers. And maybe how much do we want to do an Italian Expeditionary Corps to the Soviets? I think we are going to rely a lot on some of these minor guys, not so much for major attacks, but either supporting other German attacks. That's why I'm moving down what would be 3 infantry corps, an armored corps, and the HQ down here to try to push here. We are going with something of a southern strategy here if we can get all this organized up as well. That's 2 more mechanized corps with that. That would be 3 mech corps up there. Is that good enough to start? We would probably want to concentrate those forces instead of I would love to do something like a bash into here, take Minsk, come north to Riga and around, and pocket a lot of these troops in here, but I don't know if it's going to allow me to get away with that. I don't know if I have enough forces that I feel comfortable invading. 2-to-1. Well, if we were to get both of those, 2-to-1 into that. Why? Be patient, because we've cut them off from their supply. Just be patient. These 2 units are basically useless. That's decent, that's almost useless. We've killed the one. That I think is a good mech unit. And it's in, you know, can't attack, so I think that's just delaying us so they can get their valuable mech unit out through the Mediterranean. But I think they're done down here, so yeah. Okay, again, thanks so much. See you next time for more historical gaming.